Okay, good job.
Thank you. So, welcome everybody. Welcome to our webinar. This is for Future Professionals Academy. My name is Rhonda Bernard. My partner is Tony McClintock. Um, we are partners. We are also moms. I got two Gen Zs living in London and Amsterdam. So when we say we know the three essential skills your teen needs to succeed and they won't learn in school, we know it firsthand because we've lived it. That's why we thought we'd share this knowledge with all of you.
Yes, and I'm Tony, and I have three kids too, and they're 22 and 25 and 27. Two girls and a boy, and so they're just past the teen years, but that's why we're so excited about what we're doing here because we have perspective after living through it. So we're saying this webinar, we're saying that you're in the right place. If this webinar is for you, if you want your teen to be resilient,
This webinar is for you
yeah.
if you want your teen to be confident.
This webinar is for you if you want your teen to have healthy coping strategies.
And this webinar is for you if you want your teen to find their place in the world.
This webinar is also for you if you want your teen to have a great job and a healthy work balance, because a good work life creates stability.
And this webinar is for you if you want your teen to have a supportive network aside from family.
So congratulations, you're in the right place. If you are that kind of parent, you found the right place to help your teen. To sum it up, you want your teen to have the tools they need for a happy adult life instead of struggling with insecurities and indecision.
And in this webinar, just as we promised, we're going to give you powerful tips, tools, and techniques about 3 essential skills to help you help your teen. We tried them out ourselves. We know that they work.
And with your permission, once we finish telling you everything about the 3 essential skills we promised, we will make you an offer about our workshop series at the very end of this presentation.
So, do you worry that you haven't done enough, or maybe that you've done too much, that you've enabled, that you are hovering, that you're helicoptering? Trust me, we know that feeling. I I mean, I live it every day. And so when I tell you you're not alone, you're really not alone. And as parents, we all have these feelings, right? Like even now, I'm like, am I doing enough? Am I doing too much? When do I stop? When do I start? That's why we're here now, because we've gone through this and we figured out things that will help.
Yes, Ben, you might have already tried a lot of these things. I know I did, books and videos, parental talks, youth groups. Um, some of them may have helped with your kids. If they didn't work, it's okay, not to worry. We are here to help, and this webinar will definitely give you hope.
So, is your teen experiencing these things as we speak? Constantly comparing themselves to others, having unrealistic standards, not having enough confidence, or having false confidence just to keep themselves going through the day? Are they alone too much? You know what? They're not alone either. Jonathan Haidt, have you guys heard of this book? He wrote this book. It's The Anxious Generation. And this is really a tough time, for these kids, for Gen Z. They're called the cell phone generation, and that's what Jonathan Haidt talks about. That that anxiety and depression has just gone up, and it's all linked to that little cell phone that we can't get away from them.
Yeah. So mainly social media is, one of the problems. They call it social media, but being on a phone is isolating. They aren't getting the things that come with socializing in real situations where they learn the things like confidence and communication skills. It's not what you're doing on your phone, it's what you're not doing because you're on your phone. And what does that mean you're giving up? one real quick example is being on the bus in Paris and seeing young people both on their phones, sitting right next to each other, and you sit close together in a Paris metro and just not talking to each other because they're just looking at their phones.
So it's also boys too, right? They're playing video games all the time. I mean, it's some girls, but mostly boys that, and they're spending like on average between 2 to 6 hours a day on their video games. And just like Tony said, it's not that they're on their video games, it's what are they not doing because they're on their video games so much? Well, they're not getting into real relationships. They're not having real conversations. They're not leaving the house. All of their friends become gamer friends online. And I've had friends who've moved to new cities and their sons like never got assimilated. They never got to meet anybody. They just stayed inside and played video games all the time with people that they never met. So don't just take our word for it. Let's listen to what Dr. Michael Manos has to say.
Kids who engaged in pathological.
Oops.
Did I stop the share?
Yeah, of the
Phobia
video
Sorry,
stopped.
I do that. So
Technical
sorry.
difficulty.
Technical difficulty.
Kids who engaged in pathological gaming increased levels of depression, increased levels of anxiety, and increased social phobia. And when they stopped pathological gaming, depression, anxiety, social phobia went down.
So
Yeah, that's a pretty strong statement.
Kids who
Um,
engaged in pathological gaming.
let's not hear it again.
let's not hear it again.
Yeah.
Okay, so for all those reasons, that is why we're here right now. These are three of the most essential skills your teen needs to succeed in the world today.
And so you're probably saying to yourself, who are you? And why should we listen to you? Well, we get it. We're probably wondering ourselves, why are we here too? Well, I'll tell you why we're here, because we really, really care about all of this stuff. Like we said earlier, we're mothers, but we're also professionals. And I've spent my entire career really trying to help people learn and develop. And I've spent time with thousands of people and met them and and I've become really engaged and convinced that you need to start younger. I needed to have start younger with people. I needed to start with their as early as their teens to really help them get developed. Tony, my partner, she's just as passionate as I am about this as well too. We are constantly learning, we're constantly working on this. We believe in this so much. We started out with our children and then we just kept going and we saw how much it works.
Yeah, and we got a bunch of qualifications and certifications because I did. Rhonda already had a lot of them, just because I was so excited about doing this with younger people. Um, so who am I? What is my reason for doing this? We just wanted to tell you why why we really are doing this. So Rhonda and I have different reasons, but mine, I had a rough go in my 20s. Have you heard of the mid-20s life crisis? It's like a midlife crisis, only earlier, and it's a real thing. Maybe some of you can relate. Whenever I bring this up, people always say, "Oh yeah, the 20s, early 20s were tough."
If
I
they
did great in
believe
high
it.
school.
You also
Yeah,
get a
if
lot
they
of
do.
like, oh
Some don't
yeah,
believe it.
20s. Yeah.
Some don't believe it, but a lot of people really do. The 20s can be tough, and I did great in high school. I had tons of confidence, but then what happened? I went to university. I was a small fish in a big sea. I seemed like everybody had more tools than I had in my toolbox, and I also didn't have coping strategies, really good coping strategies to deal with my my emotions, and I had a lot of feelings. So in my mid 20s, I I needed more skills. So we're out there in the big bad world in our 20s, right? I got through it. Luckily, I will admit that I drank a lot of alcohol. I smoked some pot, but these days kids are doing a lot things. And so hindsight's 2020, once I realized how much I could help teens prepare for what they had in store, it was super meaningful for me. It's my story.
So thank you, Tony, for sharing that. And I just want to tell you like why I'm doing it as well too. It was honestly, this is a picture of me when I was in fourth grade. And if you can see, I'm the little girl with the kind of uneven socks in the middle of the picture. And yes, this is when I lived in Hawaii. We moved to Hawaii. And I always say, this is kind of my origin story where I just really became totally convinced that role modeling and development makes a huge difference in people's lives because it made a huge difference in my life. So before I moved to Hawaii, I really had already gotten the message. And remember, I moved to Hawaii when I was 8 years old. I was already getting this message from everybody, from society, from magazines, from people, from parents, from other kids, that that the world wasn't made for me, that the messages out there weren't for me. I wasn't included in that. And I remember and I still remember that, like, it just didn't feel good, right? I just didn't feel like I belonged, or that like I knew where I belonged, or that the dialogue included me. And then we moved to Hawaii. And then all of a sudden, I was surrounded by people that kind of looked like me, that kind of acted like me, that had a lot of the same stories that I did. And it wasn't just the kids, it was also the adults, it was the teachers, it was the parents, it was the bank tellers, it was the airline pilots. All of these people all of a sudden looked like me. And it just gave me such a boost of confidence and a kind of like a settling in my bones that this world did belong to me as well too. And that started me on my journey to really wanting to help people, because I still remember that feeling of, oh, that's what it feels like to belong and to know who you are. And so that started me on this lifelong journey of development and wanting to help develop people. And I spent my entire career doing it. And I spent my entire career speaking to 40s and 50-year-old people, men and women, who would come to me and say, I don't know who I am. I don't know what I want to do. I'd ask them, like, what are your strengths? What do you like? And they would look at me with these scared and sad eyes and go, I don't know. I don't know what they are. And I don't know how to do it. And I would work with them. And I was convinced, I can't say this enough, that it needed to start earlier, that personal development journey needed to start earlier. So when Tony and I kind of got together and shared our stories, we're like, oh my God, we've got to start earlier. We're going to do this. And that's why we're here today, to tell you about what we've learned to really help your children.
So let's get to it.
So the first one, we told you we'd give you 3 essential skills. Well, here's number 1, and it's confidence. And we're going to tell you how to help your teen gain confidence and help them open up a new bank account, a confidence bank account that they're going to be able to use to keep that confidence up.
So confidence is made up of 3 elements: the mindset, talk, and behavior. And the interesting part about this is who controls all those things? We do. So that's important to realize, that we have control over that. And so that's how we can learn to gain confidence. Um, and how do you do that? You focus on these 3 things. The first is mindset, um, how we see ourselves and our attitudes. Of the 3 parts, it's the hardest, but it's the most important element. People with a confident mindset tend to behave confidently and talk confidently. Confident talk is how we use verbal communication. And lastly, confident behavior looks at the nonverbal elements of communicating with confidence. And then just remember what I said about the beauty of these 3 attributes. We control our mindset, behavior, and our inner voice.
So when you're talking to your teen, remember that confident mindset is essentially how they see themselves. And and their attitudes towards themselves, right? So to have a confident mindset is really being able to have in your mind, I see myself in a certain way and I have a great attitude about it, right? So again, like Tony said, we can control that. And what happens though is that things get in the way of us having that confident mindset. And so what can block us? Well, basically, it all comes down to fears: fear of rejection, fear of lack of confidence, fear of others' opinions, fear of the unknown, fear of loss of control, fear of people figuring out that we're not really good at what we do, that whole imposter syndrome, and fear of failing. All of that stuff can get in the way of our confident mindset of having the right attitudes and to see ourselves in such a positive way. So guess what? The good thing is, when we start getting those blocks, when we start getting those fears, we can release them. It is all really something that you can teach them how to do. So first of all is teach them to take out the drama. Okay. I know we're laughing because it is not the end of the world. Believe it or not, you will be able to get through this. So if you can get them to just to get through, to realize that it's not a big thing. Okay, so yeah, you woke up a little late. It's not the end of the world. You're not a loser. You're gonna be able to live through this. I promise you. And also, say they did do something terrible and say they had a terrible moment. Remind them and teach them that it is not, they are much more than the worst moment of their life, that you would never judge them on the worst moment of their life, and that they shouldn't judge others as well too. That will help them lift above that as well too. And then try to not make it personal. Tell them to, maybe someone's just having a bad day, that it had nothing to do with you. I know that happens to me all the time. And thanks to, really being able to have that, using these releases, if somebody I feel like snubbed me or wasn't very nice to me, instead of going, oh, it's because they think I'm really not as good as that, or I'm not worth it, I go, oh, they must be having a bad day. It's not about me, it's about them. And that has really helped me a lot too, by the way. And then, um, and this is really important, it's really important that we prepare what we can prepare. That will also help us have confident mindset and confident attitudes. So, for example, when we were preparing for this webinar, I control what I can control. I can prepare, I can practice, I can work on the information and on the materials. That I can control, that I can prepare. I can't prepare for your reactions. I can't prepare for how you're going to receive it, but I can control all of this stuff and I can prepare that. And that will make me more confident that I'm going to be ready for this. Just, for a test, for example, or a big presentation they might have to have, or an interview, remember to help them prepare what they can prepare and let the other stuff go. Don't put your energy into that. And then finally, I think it's really important to be able to laugh at yourself, to find the humor in things. It really helps your confidence. You teach them how to laugh about the things, about the bad moments and the bad things that happen to them. That can really help them release their fears. And again, when you're laughing, it's kind of bubbling up, and that's kind of lifting you up and giving you a more confident mindset.
Okay, so now let's talk about confident talk. Our talking sounds more confident when we pace our speech, when we take a breath, when we use pauses, and when we stop and listen to others. Use silence. That can be really hard when you're not confident, but if you can use silence, it can really give you more confidence. And then the last thing, which is very out there right now, but very important, is your internal voice. Having a positive internal voice. Whenever you hear that internal voice being negative, turn it around. Just don't let it happen. You have the control over your positive voice. I have a hard time with that.
And also, so finally, the last kind of piece for confidence is confident behavior. So we so the first thing is, as you see on this slide, we have the man and the woman in their superhero pose. So if you can, we're going to invite you to stand up.
I can't
Go
because I have a
ahead.
broken ankle.
You won't be, I know Tony has a broken ankle, but stand up. Put your hands on your hips and lift your chin a little bit higher. Just
Just
go
do it.
ahead. Just
It
do
sounds
it.
silly, but just do it.
Yes. Put
Stand
yourself in
up.
your best superhero pose. Imagine you're out there fighting the bad guys, you know? So guess what? Look straight ahead of you. Do you feel your whole body lifting up? This, believe it or not, gives you a big boost of confidence, an instant boost of confidence. Just being able to stand there like this, you're like, all right, I'm ready to take on the world. You may be laughing, but it's been proven that that superhero pose will give you an instant boost of confidence. And so Tony and I actually have an actual story about this. We worked with these young girls who were doing an IB class, and right before they walked into their tests, and I don't know if you guys know IB, but it's a very rigorous and difficult curriculum, and the tests are really, really, really scary because this is where you get to go to school afterwards. They told us that they all stood up in a circle together, did their superhero pose, and walked in like they owned the world. So we
We,
really,
we were so happy.
yes, we were so happy. And also, you saw that little boost you got. Try it with your kids. They're going to really see a difference. But
First,
beyond
they'll
the
laugh at you,
superhero,
but it really does work.
you know what? I can tell that you feel confident already, more confident already. But beyond the superhero pose, there's other things that conveys confident behavior. First of all, looking people straight in the eye as much as possible, knowing where to stand, use your space pretty well. Like, do you need to stand closer to the person? Do you need to stand a little bit further from the person? And if you're giving presentations or, talks, which a lot of times your kids will be, knowing to move, this is something that I learned and it shows confidence, is that you only move if it makes sense for what you're saying and the presentation. Don't just walk back and forth and, start pacing and things like that. Move deliberately. It makes you look way more confident. And the other thing is,
What about fidgeting, Rhonda?
so actually, that is a dead giveaway. It's the yes, when you
Did y'all
fidget,
notice?
yes, when you play with your hair, when you do things like that, you don't exude confidence. So if you find yourself doing that, stop, because when you don't do it, people are going to think you're confident. Your words sound more confident. And the last thing that I wanted to talk about is your voice. So I was really lucky. I had a coach who helped me do better presentations. And she was an opera singer. And I can't sing, but she made me sing, which was awful, but I did get much better with my voice. And what she taught me was that when I was giving a presentation, to look at a fixed point, like right in front of me, and to project my voice to that location. And so, what happens when you project your voice? It comes from your guts and not from your chest. And that just makes you seem more confident. That gives your voice a lot more breath, a lot more depth, and you just exude more confidence.
I've
So,
used that used that since Rhonda taught me that, and I really think it helps to look at where you want your voice to go. Like, look at where you want your voice to go, and that really, really does work great.
yeah, and also I just want to say this is really important. So the mindset, the behavior, and the talk are three things that we can fake until we make. So the more we act like we have it, the more we'll actually start having it.
Okay, but now we're going to tell you a real tool. It's an amazing tool. It's called the Confidence Bank Account, and it's just like a regular bank account. Um, we have deposits and we have withdrawals. Um, but sometimes deposits, um, a withdrawal takes out more than one deposit. So we have to, in order to keep our bank balance in check, we have to have a lot of deposits. What do deposits mean? They're the positive things in our life, like our compliments that we get when people give us positive feedback, our successes and experiences. Um, and then the withdrawals are things that happen that are negative, the criticism we get, or somebody puts you down, a feeling of failure in some way, something that just doesn't go well. It's a withdrawal that just is big for you, or maybe a new situation. So this is a real tool. It sounds, metaphoric, but I do it all the time. I did it with my husband the other day. He loved it. And it's a great exercise that you can do with your teen. So we would just love to see if we could ask you to participate in the chat. If you could write in the chat one thing that you would put in your deposit, like real things from your life, and let's see how many deposits people can make. You can put more
Yeah.
than one.
Yes. So look at all of the accounts in your life, work, family, sports activities, friends, and here's some deposits: compliments, positive feedback, successes, strengths, experience. See what we got. Eye contact. That's great. That you're really good at making eye contact. I feel like you're a strong, confident woman. Compliments from clients. Compliments always help, right? Makes you feel good.
Yeah,
Awards.
compliments from clients.
What kind of awards,
Awards.
Franck?
Yes, on mute.
Recognition, empathy. What do you mean by that, Andrea? How do you use that to boost your to deposit into your confidence bank account?
while she's while she's doing that, I love the hugs that Nina said.
Oh,
Hugs are definitely a
oh
positive
yes.
deposit.
Sorry,
If you can think of more, add more.
I had problems with my headset. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah,
Now I stopped the video. It was not intended.
it's
No,
okay.
and maybe I did not understand the concept properly. So I was going to ask, but then of course I couldn't ask. So so you mean something that we get and that keeps us, so
that
that
gives you
helps us
confidence.
confident.
Yeah,
Empathy.
Yeah.
yeah.
So what I'm saying is I'm a very empathic person, right? I try to, and I want to feel the same empathy towards me.
So when people show empathy towards you, you put that in your
Yes.
confidence bank account.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. That's super important. So just to let you know, this is something you can do with your kids. Like you can point out things for them and being included. Absolutely. Like for instance, uh, I I have a work group, and so often I can tell when somebody I'm with is feeling a little down, and I go up to them and I say, "Hey, I got something for your confidence bank account." That little example you just gave so helped me understand the concept. I was totally lost, and then you gave that example, and then I got it. So
Right.
yes, new contacts for your business. Yeah, yeah. Like if somebody recommends you, attendees to events you organize.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a multitasker, so mind me, mind you, right?
Yeah.
All right. So Nino,
Let's
how
see,
does
being
being
included.
included give you how is that a deposit in your confidence bank account? You can add it in the chat or just speak up. It's okay, whichever way you want.
Maybe she can't do it.
That's okay. So All right. So anybody else have something they'd like to add for something they'd like to add to their confidence bank account?
Okay, we can move to withdrawals, but it's very important to really to express that you need a lot of deposits. Like the deposit side of the bank account when we were doing our balance sheets before, when we had checking, real checkbooks, you have to have a lot of deposits because withdrawals can take out 5 deposits, one withdrawal. But we just wanted to ask if anybody wanted to put any withdrawals into the if you can think of what kind of thing would be a withdrawal. It can be a real experience that you had and, some sort of negative feedback you got or, something that happened. What would be an example of a withdrawal if anybody could write one in?
So I'll start it off. I once was working with this poor results in a campaign. There you go, Paul. So what? So just to let you, so I do these trainings with virtual reality for these with this one group, and when I first got started, I didn't. I hooked up all of the virtual reality helmets in between the trainings so that they could recharge, but I forgot to plug it in. So at the end of the day, we ran out of charges. They had to sit on the floor and manually plug the charge in to finish the course. And yeah, and I was thinking, they're never going to use me again. I'm such an idiot. Rejection to a job application. And so the next day, Tony and I
Mistakes. Thank you, mistakes.
We were working on the confidence bank account, and she like helped me start stocking my bank account so I could get over it. So I would be like, it happens. You're going to be okay. They're going to use you again. It's not a big deal. And it really did help, by the way. So she pointed out a lot of the things that I could stock in my bank account. Mistakes. Yeah. For kids, a bad grade or test score or not getting into the college that they wanted to get into. I know that happened, as
Yeah, that
well,
happens.
too. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think you guys get it.
Oh, yeah.
There's one more.
Ghosting from a
Ghosting
potential
from a
employer.
potential employer. Oh, yeah, ghosting is not is a big withdrawal. So there's something called confidence investing, and you can be one of the main investors for your kids. Like with this bank account, you can teach them to be an investor. Just keep putting, just have their list, have it really written down of all the good things in their life and all the positives that are their deposits, so that when a withdrawal comes, they can look at they can look at the deposit and they don't feel so bad, and it really does make the balance come back into balance. And
And
so
it's something you can do with them as well too. Like when you see that they're kind of getting down on something, this is a great exercise to just say, hey, let's look at your confidence bank account. What are some deposits that you have? What are some deposits we can make right now so we can get you out of that withdrawal?
okay,
Teens not getting invited to an event and or seeing on social media that their friends were together. Ooh, that is a big withdrawal.
yeah, I got the chills.
Yeah.
I hated that.
Yeah.
I hated that
Yeah,
when that
as a
Yeah.
happened.
teen, it's big. It's
It
big
is.
Yeah,
now.
I mean, I
and
don't like getting left out.
it's big for the mom. I always say, like, it's harder on it might even be harder on us than it is on them.
Yeah. Yeah. So yes, exactly. So that's when we really need to make sure that they have a lot in their a lot of deposits in their bank account.
And did you see Nina wrote being overwhelmed by problems out of our control and
Yes.
crazy politicians? Yeah, those things that really affect teens these days, really
Environmental
more
issues.
than
Yeah. It
my
really
teens
is.
are. My kids are so focused on that. Really, yeah, really is a big withdrawal.
Yes.
Okay, so let's move on to our
So
next
yes.
skill.
So that was number one, which was confidence. So what we say is if you want to be a better communicator, you definitely need confidence, which is a great segue into number two, the second essential skill.
which is communication, which we know that Gen Z, which are the teens today, have a lot of problems with. Communication skills are something that they struggle with because of, a lot of things we know. But the good news is that there are some easy techniques to get better at it. There's a lot of techniques, but we're just going to focus on one in this webinar, or one right now. It's called active listening, and yeah.
Yeah. Active listening. So, why is it so important to have good communication skills? You know, I think I told you earlier that I've been working for a long time in development, and I spent a lot of time also setting up graduate recruiting, graduate relationships with schools, school relationships, and things like that. So I had a lot of young people that I was constantly recruiting, and I have to say, it was kind of a surprise for me to start working with Gen Z. Even though I have Gen Zs at home, it's really different when you start interacting with them on the job. First of all, you're going through the recruitment process with them. They don't know you. And all of a sudden you start getting texts from them, and they're kind of acting like your friends, and it's very casual, and it doesn't feel like it's very professional. So I now sound like a very crusty older person, I know, and I'm not the only one. So in the workplace, older generations have always looked down on younger ones. Let's face it, like there's so many movies out there, there's so many jokes about it. It's everyone says that the newer generation's less serious, more materialistic, they just don't get it. But experts have pointed out, and we're feeling it, that the current clash over Gen Z's work language extends way beyond standard issue generational divides, way beyond that. And those of you who are dealing with Gen Zs right now at home, you know what I'm talking about, right? And this is really important because they need these skills to be successful in their jobs at university once they get away from you, and to really look and feel like professional and being able to exude that ability to communicate will make them be more successful. So they need to like use better body language, have better eye contact, all of that good stuff.
Okay,
So
yeah.
I'm just sorry. I was just gonna say, and don't just take. It's just think about your kids. Like, how many times have you seen how they interact with other people and older people, and you're just like, really, is that how you want to go about it? So here's one thing that we would like to teach you about to help your kids become better at communicating.
Yeah, this one's easy. That's why we chose it. It's active listening. It's 3 A's, so it's easy to remember because it's 3 A's. And many people still don't even have these communication skills in their 30s and 40s. So listen up. Trying to
All
be
right.
funny.
Yes. So the first A is attention. And attention is really important. Um, or in their 50s. Thank you, Andrea. It's true. All right. So if we
Yes.
get back to attention, so this is really important. Today, everything is taking our attention away. I think Andrea said it earlier. We all believe we can multitask, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's actually much harder to give our attention and our presence to someone, but it is the first key to active listening. And one thing that I've learned, and I really, really try hard to practice, is that the minute you are in contact with someone, you give them your attention and you start listening to them. Because often the first thing out of their mouth is the thing that is most important to them. And if you really want to be able to understand and communicate with them, if you're already listening to the first thing they said to you, you're way ahead of the game. And
And that's
so
hard.
it is hard. It is hard. I often do an exercise and I just tell a random story. And then afterwards, I ask them like a series of questions. I was going to do it with you all, but I didn't. We'll maybe do it next time. And I always say, okay, I'll ask a bunch of random questions, and almost everybody misses the first three things I said. So it's really hard to pay attention the minute someone starts speaking, the minute you start interacting with them, but that's where you get the things that are usually the most important to them.
And then there's a few tricks also, like to use eye to look at their eye color. If you teach your teens to, look at their eye color, even for you, stare at somebody's eye color, it really keeps your attention, and nodding as they speak, mirroring their body language. Those are all things that can help you, and putting your phone down right when, beforehand.
Yeah.
So the second A is attitude. It has to do with keeping a positive mindset as you listen. So you try your best to approach conversations with a good attitude, and you try to limit your negative thoughts, because before you've heard what somebody has to say, if you come into the situation with a negative attitude, it can really give you a bias and prevent you from hearing the other person, or it might distract you from listening at all.
And then finally, the third A is adjustment, which, you probably have heard of attention and attitude, and you're like, adjustment? So adjustment is really about like what Tony said earlier, checking your bias and having an open mind and not having like already like you're just waiting for them to stop talking so you can say what you have to say, so you can convince them that what you have to say is more important than what they said, or you want to tell your story. So adjustment is going in and really listening to what they have to say without judgment and saying, oh, that's something that I hadn't thought about before. And now I'm adjusting kind of my opinion and my reaction based on what I've heard. And that's really requires, again, the attention and the attitude so that you can start adjusting, so that you can start being open, and that you can start adjusting what you think, your opinions based on your interaction with this person. And that will be a way of communicating in a way that opens the dialogue instead of shutting it down. And so remember,
Yeah,
that's kind of the key.
you learn to make a new dialogue around what they're saying. So what your old dialogue
Mhm.
might have been, if you're really adjusting and being open to changing your mind, then you're able to make a new dialogue to what they're saying, and that's really great. Um, so here's somebody who was in one of our workshops, who said, I changed my approach when talking to my parents about things. Before, I always approached it as I have to convince them to do what I want, and now I try to go in with an open mind so we can discuss and come up with decisions or solutions together. I'm sure all you parents out there would love that to happen. But when you can learn active listening, it really does change your approach when talking to people.
All right.
So
Now
our
we're
third
on
skill.
to our third skill. We promised you 3 skills, and here they are. So the number 3 is critical thinking and decision making. And we really feel like this is really a development skill as well too. It's a personal development skill. Um, Teens today, they face so much information. They're just getting tons and tons and tons. They're getting inundated with information, and they're getting bombarded also with decisions, little and small, that they have to make all the time. And a lot of times they can't really kind of like sort out what's really important, what they need to pay attention to, and or they'll just and then they kind of get into that like just frozen where they can't make a decision. I know that I've gone out with my daughter, and something as simple as buying a shirt can just lead her to almost a meltdown because she's not sure, should I buy this shirt, should I not? And she'll take a picture of it, send it to like 10 friends, and just kind of just go around and around and around over a simple thing as buying a shirt. And then she'll make a snap decision on something that's really important, that's going to be super important to her life. So, like I said, critical thinking combined with decision making is a skill that is essential for them to be successful.
Yeah, so let's talk about problems that they have. When they have a problem and they have to decide and they have to figure out, they don't know what to do. They have a big problem. One easy way to help them solve this problem is the 5 whys. Asking 5 whys can get to the root of the problem, and every toddler knows that, right? Why, mommy? Why? But in the teenage years, you can use this tool also. I'm going to ask in the audience if somebody has a problem that their teen has that we can try this out with. Can anybody think of one problem that they're willing to share that their teen has right now that they don't know what to do about? Somebody raise your hand if you're writing something, if we know somebody's going to do it. Because we have an example, if not.
Mine have problems like everyone else's, but I'm not sure, that it's not because they don't want or they don't know what to do. So I'm just trying to come up with something.
Okay.
Because we've solved some of them, but not all of them are a question of finding the root cause, right? I guess, I don't know, I'm just trying to think, someone that is not performing well at school, and it's not that he doesn't want to perform well, is he probably doesn't know how to perform well, right?
Okay, that seems a little complicated for this.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, right? That's my problem now.
We need an easy problem.
Yeah, I'm trying to think something easier, but
Okay,
well,
let's
take that one though. So somebody that is getting bad grades in school. Like, let's take a subject, getting bad grades in math.
Math, exactly.
Okay. So why is she getting bad grades? Why is he getting bad grades in math?
That's the thing. He doesn't
Andrea?
know, right?
He doesn't know.
He doesn't know.
Okay.
It's
So
either, I don't know, he's not understanding, he's not paying enough attention, he doesn't have sufficient time, right? So there could be a number of cases he doesn't,
okay.
We're trying to understand the why, but he doesn't know why.
Okay. So when he sits down and takes the test, what happens?
It's a mix, probably combined mix of he doesn't understand and he doesn't have sufficient time.
Okay, so he doesn't have sufficient time to finish the test, and he doesn't understand the questions on the test.
Exactly.
Okay, so why does he not have sufficient time, and why does he not understand the questions on the test? How much time does he study?
So it could be that let's say that he doesn't, because he doesn't understand, he doesn't have sufficient time, right? So let's just make it a little easier. So he doesn't understand. It could be a mix of he hasn't paid sufficient attention, he doesn't have, or he has, and that's what we're trying to assess, or does he have too many languages and therefore, he doesn't really he just doesn't get it.
The languages could be.
What do you mean by too many languages? He's bilingual, trilingual?
So think about trilingual, fourlingual, right? I don't know, whatever. Someone that started education in German and English, then moved to German, then moved to English, and speaks Spanish and Italian at home, right? So that's the context. Okay, so for math. So it could be a course, right? We don't know, but for the sake of simplicity, maybe.
All right. So he has too many languages for math.
Correct. So he doesn't understand the questions that he's being asked, right? So sometimes if it's not 2 and 2, it's like, okay, you need to really get into the
Okay.
understanding of the problem.
All right. So why does he have too many languages? Because he's been to too many different schools.
And he has a diverse background, right? So
And
he
he
has
has a
a
diverse
Spanish
background.
mother, Italian father, lives in Zurich, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm. So, okay, so why does this diverse background prevent him from preparing better for school, for being able to be successful at math?
And this is what we need to assess, right? So,
Mhm.
so why is it a problem?
Yeah. So I would say is he like trying to do too many things at once?
Or were we too ambitious, or did we not,
Mhm.
as parents, understand when he was small that it was going that we needed to make it simpler?
Okay. So again, this is math, right? So
Yeah.
why,
You can put it
why
to
would
history. Let's put it on history and economy. Let's just put it on something that probably it's easier. It could apply to anything.
well, I think math actually usually
Okay,
it's
whatever is
not
easier.
tied to language, right? So what I
Yes.
would say is he doing a lot? Is he doing his homework regularly? Is he signaling early enough that he doesn't understand the problems, or he doesn't understand how to solve the problems?
No, and probably he's not, right?
Yeah. So why isn't he doing that?
Because he's a teenager.
Because he's getting distracted, et cetera, et cetera.
Maybe
Because
he
he doesn't
doesn't
want
have
to
the
admit it. Because he doesn't
Yeah,
want to admit
yeah.
it, right?
right.
A
Yes,
lot of
because
a
he
lot
wants
of
to play
times teens don't
video
want to
games.
raise their no, but they don't want to raise
Until
their hand to say they don't understand,
exactly,
Yeah.
or he's just distracted with his friends, or it's a teen's behavior, right? Lack of
Yeah.
maturity, lack of whatever it
Hmm.
is.
So, okay. So why? Yes, because of all of those reasons that he's a teenager. So there's the root cause that actually he's not, he doesn't understand from the beginning, and he's not saying, I don't understand. So he's not preparing and
And he's not
studying
asking for help.
and
He's
he's
not
not
asking
asking
for
for
help
help.
early enough,
Yes.
right? Which is something
Yes.
that we've tried to instill. I said
Yes.
it's okay to ask for help.
Yes. And with that, so he's not asking for help early enough so that we can prepare for that, so we can help him get the skills that he needs so he can be ready for the test. So why, what can you do with that?
So what I'm trying is A, to explain that it's okay to ask for help,
Mm-hmm.
and B, give him the help he needs, or try to say, well, listen, is it additional support with someone that you have some affinity with, or can you go to your sister, or do we need extra time, which is something that the school has to assess. But to get into that, we came a year too late, or years too late.
Yeah. So it could also
Yeah.
be because of it's like attention disorder or something like that, right? But essentially, he's not asking. He doesn't understand. So he's not preparing, and he's not asking for help. So is it too late? No. So so we figured out the root cause is not that, the root cause is not that he goes to the test and he fails. It's all of the things before that, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
And once, yeah,
yeah.
I had that issue. I'm not trying to solve it for you, but I just wanted to say real quick, like Mike, moving to the front of the room is something that most teens don't want to do in a classroom. But when my kids had those kind of exact same issues, I just told them that everybody has the same questions you do. You don't realize that, but everyone else also loves for somebody else to ask the question. And if somebody else asks a question to the teacher, all of those people like that person so much better because they were thinking the same thing and they appreciate somebody else asking it. And those types of people that I grew up with were always, the most popular. They had the confidence to ask the questions and that made everybody else really, like them.
Yeah, it takes time, but eventually.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, I think we should move on to our next
yes.
thing.
So another tool that we believe is really helpful for decision making is what we call the zigzag method. And so what it does is a holistic approach to making decisions. And so, with your child, what you can do is when they have a decision that they need to make, you can use this and you can use it in the same order each time. So the first thing is, what do the facts tell us? You have a decision to make. What are the facts? What do they tell us? Let's gather the facts and really kind of just put them together here. And then remember, it's a zig. So then you zig over to the option. So based on the facts, what are some of the options that we can have based on the facts that we have here? And then pick, they'll usually say, okay, maybe this option, maybe that option. And then you zag down to the criteria. What are the criteria for our decisions? And here's usually where we usually how we make decisions of pros and cons. And this is where pros and cons come in. What's the pros of this option? What's the con of this option? And then, go back and forth. Well, this one has more pros than cons, so I'm going to really take this option into consideration. And then you finally zig over to the impact. And this is really important because a lot of times you may do the facts, you may do the options, you may do the pros and cons, but very often you don't go to the impact. And this is what is really important, to have your child say this to themselves. Okay, based on this option that I've picked and the pros and cons, how does it make me feel? How does it, does it feel good for me? How does it make the other people feel around me? What impact does it have on the people that I care about and on myself? And if it's not a good feeling, then you go back up to another option and you have them go over it again until they come up really with a decision that they feel really good about, and that other people around them feel really good about it, and that's probably going to be the best decision for them.
So just to recap, the three skills we've talked about today were confidence, communication, and critical thinking and decision-making skills. Those are three essential skills, but obviously there are more skills that your teen needs besides those three.
So we told you earlier that we were going to go over three essential skills, but there's actually a lot of essential soft skills that every teen needs to succeed in today's world. Everyone from teachers and coaches, professors, employers, me, myself as well too, having been in talent development for over 20 years and seeing what we look for to make sure that in employees that we deem to have potential and be successful, it's all focused on soft skills. And here are some of the ones that we think are the most important. And not us, but everybody. Communication skills.
This is from an article.
Yeah. Communication skills. Advocating for themselves with the authority figure and with their peers, learning to really stick up for themselves, to say, yes, I deserve this. Yes, you should be considering me. Teamwork and responsibility, super important, being able to get things done with others and being responsible for your part. Resilience. I say this every time. I tell this to my kids all the time. I don't care if you fall down 12 times. I only care that you get up 13. In life, we know how important that is. Work ethic and dependability, that you're going to show up and that you're going to do what we expect you to do, what you've said you're going to do. A responsibility, so important, it comes out twice. And organizational skills is that not everything is super chaotic, and that you're able to, this also comes with communication too. You're able to tell people where are you and what is going to be next, and that you can find things when they ask you about it. And then conflict resolution. Again, conflict resolution is really important because I just want to reframe conflict, which I do a lot at work as well too. Conflict is necessary for better collaboration, innovation, and creativity. However, you need to be able to manage it and to resolve it in a very positive way so that you can get there through that. And then taking risks. Being able to take risks requires that you have a lot of confidence and a lot of ability to resolve conflicts, and that you can create safe environments where taking risks is encouraged, and it increases everything, collaboration, innovation, everything you can imagine. So that's why,
But yeah,
yeah,
but why
that's,
is this important?
yeah,
But why is this important? Um, it is important because the future of jobs in our world will be only two things: technology and interpersonal skills, according to a recent Forbes article just in April of 2024. AI and machines are becoming more and more capable by the day. So these interpersonal skills, also known as soft skills, are the only thing that will set teams apart from each other. Um, these skills shape how they work on their own and with others. And employers say they're actually choosing candidates that have a stronger set of soft skills over candidates that have better hard skills, because soft skills are harder to develop, and Rhonda was just explaining that their potential, what they see in their potential, is based on their soft skills.
yeah.
Sorry,
So
can I
you,
quickly interrupt you here? Is it
yes,
okay to ask
Yes.
you a question? So,
Yeah.
and I think this is super relevant. My question to you both is how, because I'm trying, and I'll explain later why. But how do you communicate that in an application, in a job or an university application, when they don't see them, right? So you need to put that on paper. Past then in the interview, it's a different story. But I'm trying to help my kids and my and the children or the teens I support to to be able to communicate that. The most they can do
Hmm.
is to put achievements, right, in their CV, in their and a
Hmm.
personal story. And of course, then there's the whole grading, that those are the hard facts. But how can they show
Hmm.
all these skills, which I do agree, they're extremely important, and get past, the ATMs or whatever it is, or the admissions officers.
so I think
Yeah.
you actually had the answer in what you just said, which is the personal story. It's like the storytelling,
Telling.
right? Yes.
Hmm.
That is like communication on paper in
Mm,
real life is, can they tell a story? What story are
yeah.
they telling? And that makes all the difference in the world. So that's how
Mm-hmm.
they communicate that they're able to be resilient, work well with others, et cetera, is that they kind of build a story with what they tell
Mm-hmm.
on paper. And even to you said, like you said, oh, their CV, blah, blah, blah. Their CV should tell a story as well,
Exactly.
too.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Agree.
It
So
shouldn't
that's
be
the way
just
it's in
achievements on a piece
storytelling.
of
Yeah.
paper. Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's in when they're, in an actual interview, if they get to that point, they can they can do it a lot easier. But on paper,
Yeah.
it's hard. But to turn it around, we actually had one student who we taught, who, when she learned what her strengths were, when she was actually in an interview situation, was able to turn the conversation around. Instead of when they asked her something, she turned it around to saying, because she knew what her strength came from, that her preparation was what made her better at what they asked.
Mm-hmm.
And so she could actually turn the situation around to focus on what she was good at, and it worked.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She said it
Yeah.
worked.
She had a story to tell, and it was, and yeah. And it was about, I know this about myself, and I've been able to use it, and I've been able to make a difference by using it. So again, the story that makes all the difference in the world. Think about it. Like when somebody comes up there and just tells you, here's what I'm good at, you're bored. But if they weave it into a story, and then they captivate you, and you can do it on paper, that's why that's why there's this humongous um industry called books, books or whatever. And then that makes all the difference in the world. You want to learn more about these people. You want to understand them better, and you want to be around them. And you can do it on your CV as well too. I look at thousands of CVs, and the ones that I really care about that stand out to me is the ones who are able to craft a story by building their CV in such a way that I can actually visualize their kind of like their path, what they've done and why
Mm-hmm.
they've done it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Thank you.
so You're very welcome. So back to it. Aren't they learning this in school? Well, the sad truth is no, they really aren't. And it's because, like schools need to focus on hard skills. They need to focus on passing standards. They need to focus on making sure their kids are going to pass tests so that they can get into school that they want, on and on and on. And also, even in really great schools, private schools, which my kids went to, there were still 27 kids in a class. So yeah, there's classroom sizes are too big to really be able to have meaningful conversations or meaningful development around these kind of skills. And teachers are usually not trained on them. There's not budgets around it. So a lot of times, even like the school that my kids went to, when they said we'd really like to focus on them, it was kind of an add-on at best, like, okay, let's kind of get this one out of the way, 5 minutes, and that's it. So the sad truth is, even though every employer, every university, every person that you talk to will say this is so important, they're not learning it in school.
And I don't think they're learning
Yeah.
it at the university, if you ask me, to be honest with you.
No. So anyways, this is a good time to get them these skills. The earlier, the better. Let me tell you that life coaches and psychiatrists are costly. And interestingly, think about the bad habits that you learned, when you're young. They're hard to get rid of, but think about the good habits that you learned. They're also hard to ignore.
Yeah. So we really do believe in setting them up young. And the reason why are we here? Why are we telling you it's so urgent? I've already said that I'm tired of talking to 40 and 50-year-olds who are burnt out, on the edge, and don't know what's good, what's next for them. So, starting now, starting when they're teens, it makes a huge difference, because every minute that they don't get they don't start on this path, it just makes it harder for them, because their lives don't get easier. We all know that. Something that I already inherently kind of knew has been shown over and over again. You can read magazines, you can read books, there's report after report after report that young adults are getting more and more anxious and more depressed. Like, we already thought teens were bad. Well, it's getting worse as they become young adults and have to face the real world. I see it a little bit with, I do see it a little bit with my kids as well too. And I see it a lot with a lot of the Gen Zs that are starting to enter the workforce.
Yeah. So why are the young 20s having so much trouble? They identified several drivers of their emotional challenges, and not surprising, the biggest one is financial worries. But after that, it's about the kind of skills that we're talking about today. Lacking direction, lacking in skills and talents are near the top. If we can work on interpersonal development earlier, like in the teenage years, then these terrible feelings of anxiety and depression in their 20s can be reduced. It also, I think this reflects what I was talking about about how much I struggled, how ill-equipped I was when I got into my 20s. And I struggled. And I know that if I had more life skills and more self-awareness about my strengths, about myself, then I would definitely have been able to had an easier time in my 20s.
Yeah. So honestly, the world's not going to get any easier for our kids. We all know it. And I really do believe this. If they develop these skills young, if they start this journey young, when something, when they're still at home, then they're way more equipped to get out of it faster. Things are still going to happen, but they've got the coping skills they need to be able to move past it. Because honestly, I personally have lived through it when your kid is at home, they're feeling anxious, they don't know what's going to happen to them, they don't know if they're going to get into the school they want, they have so much pressure on them. so my kids went to an IB school, and it had so much, they had so much pressure at that school to do well and to get into a really good school. So one, like the whole class, parents of the IB students all got together at one day for dinner. I remember telling this to Tony as well too. And we all started talking about like the week our kid couldn't get out of bed. Like it was just a totally normal thing. Oh yeah, your kid couldn't get out of bed for a week either because she was too depressed. Oh, that's a, oh, that was my depression week, was the week after, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's
my
just
daughter had migraines.
oh,
Yeah, my daughter had migraines. So they all have stuff going on. So
yeah.
how do you get them the skills that they need? So soft skills, they get all the other stuff in school. So soft skills have to be approached with the head, heart, and hand, we like to say. Um, and as parents, we try to get the rest that they're not getting in school. And it's a more holistic approach, but we can't do it all. But wouldn't you like them to be able to get that, to be able to get it all? So
Yeah, so we believe
this
so
is where
much
we can,
in this. Yeah, so we believe, like I said, I mean, I keep saying it. We believe so much that you have to start young. That we put together these series of workshops that we call Future Professionals Academy. We have a series of workshops that are designed exactly to kind of help your child get all of those essential skills that we talked about and to start that personal development journey young, where they can go on it and use it for the rest of their lives. Our four core workshops are, we believe, really answer that question, really build these skills. We know it, we've seen it, we've lived it, we've tried it out with our own kids, we've tried it out with a lot of other kids. These four workshops are what we call the core workshops that provide these essential skills. It's a small group of teens. Remember, like the classroom size is not big. And it's the head, the heart, and the hands, because it's real skills, the head and heart. We connect, it's stuff that connects emotionally with them, that they feel a connection with. And it's the hands, because they also go into breakout rooms with each other and they use the tools at hand and practice it, and they're able to do it. And it's really great because we've been able to collect a group of teens that are from all over the world. So they learn from each other as well too, and they share their stories and they influence each other. And so the parents who sign up for them are just like you. They want the best for their kids. They really want their kids to get the skills that they're going to need and that they're missing out on.
yeah, and there's a lot of storytelling, which makes them want to, we tell our stories, and which makes them want to share their stories. And at first, they sometimes are hesitant, but once they hear our stories, and then we have to we have to keep it short. We have to say, okay, we'll take one story or two stories because everybody wants to share, and it's great.
For me, I found that like taking the course has really boosted my confidence when like speaking in like professional terms, like with teachers or even like just with my parents, like having the confidence to like ask for what I want or like truly say how I feel. When I was like going to universities, I found this really came in handy because had the confidence to go up to the students and ask them how they felt about the course, to the professors, ask them questions, which I don't think I would have like been able to do before. And I think what really helped was when we had the breakout sessions, like being able to like practice the skills we learned like in the session in a more like private and like safe space before we like applied them in the real world.
Ruby, we
Yeah,
loved
so
her.
that was Ruby. So our future professional course series, we already told you,
Taking the
it does
course really
include,
boosted my
oops.
confidence
I
when
like
like
to listen to
speaking.
We're
her twice.
still
I'm
on Ruby.
sorry.
You didn't learn the non-fidgeting part, as you noticed.
She'll be
A lot of
back.
fidgeting, a lot of fidgeting going on.
She's on her journey,
Um,
Tony.
so in our future professional course series, we have these four workshops. We already touched on the 2, 3, and 4, but we're going to talk about the first one, because it really relates a lot to what Andrea was talking about finding their strengths, and so that how they're able to talk about their strengths. Um, so especially we want to talk about the first workshop.
So the first workshop, as Tony said, is called Finding Your Strengths. It's kind of the foundation of the entire series, and it lays the groundwork that will take them through the entire series. And the first thing is before they even sign up for before they even take the workshop, they take up to 20 to 30-minute online assessment called Clifton Strengths. And what it does, based on that, they get kind of their 34 strengths listed out for them. And I always like to tell them that it's like a 1 in 33 million chance that somebody else will have the exact same strengths in the exact same order as they are. So I always start out and say, hey, guess what? If anybody tries to tell you you're not a unique, tell them that you are, because you're a 1 in 33 million. So if you believe you are unique, you are correct. And it's really important because during this workshop, they, for the first time, really understand what a strength is. And we teach them that naming them is really important because the assessment names them. But we also spend the time in the workshop for them to integrate the strength, to really be able to claim it. Oh, that's how that strength shows up. Oh, that's what that strength looks like. And then we take them through the process of saying, you've named it, you've claimed it. Now imagine if you could aim it. You've got a goal, you've got an objective. You're going to take those strengths and you're going to aim those strengths at that objective. And that empowers them in such an amazing way. And they get super excited.
Yeah,
And by
and
the
that's
way,
why this assessment. Sorry.
sorry, I just wanted to say, like, when I say start young, I didn't really know my strengths until I was like 50 years old when I took the Clifton
Yeah,
Strengths.
me too.
Yeah, and I wish,
Life
again, just
changing.
like everything, I wish I had learned it a lot earlier.
Yeah, and it's why this assessment is so great because it stops them from focusing on their weaknesses and instead it directs them to focus on what they're good at. Just like this quote from Albert Einstein, who I love, everyone is a genius, but if you judge a fish on its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing it's stupid. So once they learn what they're good at, they start focusing on those things instead of what they're not good at.
Yeah, and they become intentional with their strengths. And intentionality is an accelerator to success because when you know what you're good at, when you can aim your strengths and you become intentional, you grow exponentially. And we really focus on that as well too, because I think that's really important. Instead of saying, okay, I can work really, really, really hard at something that's really hard for me and is not a strength, and I will get mediocre at best, or I can focus my energy on something that I'm really good at, that is a natural strength, and I'm going to be exponentially better. And talk about building your confidence. Knowing that you can be exponentially better at something, it just gives you wings.
I'm Wiley, and I used to think I was a pretty good communicator in general. But after taking Ron and Tony's Future Professionals Academy, I realized that I wasn't nearly as good as I could be. For example, one of my highest strengths on my strength list was harmony. And harmony as a strength kind of has to do with wanting everyone to reach a mutually satisfactory conclusion. But I've also realized through the course that not everybody has this same strength as high as I do on their list, which means that they very well could have considerably different guiding principles when they're communicating with other people. So this has been really helpful because it helps both kind of ground you when you're in a conversation with another person and know what your goals are and that theirs could be different and that it's okay. And it has definitely helped me reach new heights when it comes to communicating and getting the most out of conversations with other people.
So that takes us to thank you, Wiley. for that. I really did love that. What he said is it made me aware that to communicate with people, I had to understand what was important to them. And understanding what was important to them came from understanding what's important to me, what I'm good at as well too. Which brings us to confidence building, because like I said earlier, talent plus intention equals strength. And so one of the girls who took our class said that she had an aha moment, is that she always thought that one of her strengths was adaptability. She's really good at adapting to different situations and to kind of adjusting her behavior and how she does things based on the situation she's in. And so because her parents moved a lot, she was having to do that a lot. And she was always happy in incredibly different situations. And she said, before I understood that this was a strength, I always thought it meant that I wasn't really happy, because how could I be happy in this situation when it was so different from the other situation? And once she realized it's because she has this capability, this strength to do it, it made her feel so good about herself. And honestly, this is from the mouths of babes, but I had that aha moment too, because I'm really good at figuring out what people are good at and using them as a resource to just kind of like make shortcuts. It's called an arranger strength. And I used to always think I was lazy, because like I would be like, oh, Drew's really good at that, I'll just get the information from her. But then I realized that I'm just actually using my strength, and it made me feel so much better about myself. Like, yeah, I'm not lazy. I'm just good at using my strengths. And that does help you with your confidence.
Yeah. So in workshop two, they also learn a fun thing besides just the superhero pose. They do an activity where they have to draw themselves as a superhero. And they obviously, they don't know what they are nervous about drawing. They don't, maybe they're not a good artist, but that's why I put mine on here and so I could explain my superhero. This is me. And my top strengths are all strategic. So I've got a flow chart, coming out of my head. I'm getting information constantly. That's my input. I had like I constantly need information. I'm a bird. I'm a
Hi.
bird flying. Oh, put my cute picture back. I'm a bird because I've always, interestingly, I just had a flying dream constantly my whole life. But I have the worms in my mouth because I'm a mom and I'm always having to feed my babies, or I did, and then my legs are lynx because my gears are always moving. And then woo is a strength that kind of sounds like what it is. I'm really good at cheering people on for things. And so I've got my hand up and I'm cheering, and so that is my superhero, and they all get to draw their own, which is a really fun exercise. And
Yeah,
they can show it if they want to. They don't have to, but they love to show their superhero.
so our workshop 3 is communication skills. So our teens, we said earlier, are not so great at communication skills. Honestly, most people aren't, right? But hey, why we've noticed that uh, you know they have even more trouble with active listening, but also courageous conversations and giving and receiving feedback. Honestly, that's something that everybody has trouble with. And like I said, start them young. So as we thought about what are important things for teens to be able to do so that they'll be able to do this even better as they grow older, it was courageous conversations and giving and receiving feedback. So we put this in our communication skills workshop because we know this is something that is missing, and that's something that you definitely need to be good at. So in these communication skills workshop, they go through all of the skills that are important for communication, and they use those skills to have courageous conversations using a process we give them, and giving and receiving feedback. But just as importantly as giving is receiving, like being able to accept constructive feedback and also accept praise, because a lot of people are not good at accepting praise. So telling somebody, hey, you're really good at this. And we teach them to say, thank you. I am. I appreciate that. Super important to help also, like I said, use your strengths, build your confidence, and be a better communicator.
Yeah, and when they go in a breakout room and they have to praise each other, it's some of them come out crying. I mean, it's so cute because they've gotten to know each other and then they have to,
Yeah.
spend 10 minutes praising each other. Can you imagine how powerful that is to hear somebody give you so much praise? It's really incredible. So in workshop 4, it's critical thinking and decision making. There's no denying the fact that a single decision can be a game changer as it can determine your destiny. And good decision making skills boost confidence. When you find you made a good decision, it gives you confidence to make the next decision. And risk analyses, most decisions involve some kind of risk. So it's important for them to learn how to determine the level of risk in each situation, but at the same time determine the possible outcomes while making a decision. So, and decision making skills are, important in every phase of life. um, Starting with where you chose to go to school or what your major was, it can have a big impact on your future, and help from many experiences of changing majors, as Rhonda and I both did
Yes,
in
my dad
university.
forbid me to change my major for the 5th time because he was tired of paying for it. So, by the way, don't take our word for it. Here's Elise.
My favorite workshop from Future Professionals was the problem solving and decision making session. I really enjoyed it because I liked being able to talk to a group, and in our even smaller groups that we formed within the workshop, it was very good to kind of be able to talk out some issues together and really brainstorm with people in order to kind of contextualize the problem and understand each other. And it was, yeah, a very good bonding experience in general. I thought that the zigzag method was also very useful in order to kind of figure out the problem and figure out the course of action you'll take to solve the problem. I'm a person who struggles a lot with decision making, and I'll often dwell on certain choices and stress out. So I found that it was very useful in building my confidence, and I use a lot of the tools learned in those sessions pretty much every day.
Yay.
I know. We
um
loved her. We love all our kids, honestly.
My
It's,
favorite workshop from Future
oh,
Professionals
sorry.
was
we keep doing
I
okay, so
know.
you might be wondering now, well, can't I just teach my teen these skills? Well, here's a scenario you might recognize. Could you please put your dishes in the sink? Please put your dishes in the sink. I'm not sure you heard me. Could you please put these dishes in the sink? Um, Maybe that sounds familiar. Guess what? Science shows that teens are programmed not to listen to their parents. A new study published last year in the Journal of Neuroscience found that teens are not simply refusing to listen to you. The problem is neurologically that kids process their parents' voices differently when they're teenagers compared to their childhood years.
It's neurological. It's not you. So anyway, so studies show that 17-year-olds prefer changes to a non-familiar voice. I mean, this is a kind of a complicated slide showing how the brain works, but basically it just says everything you already knew. They're not listening to you. It's and it's not their fault.
Yeah, why does it happen? Obviously, the shift is adaptive. It represents their healthy development that prepares them on their journey for independence away from those familiar voices, of their childhood, and to to more towards unfamiliar voices. So it's healthy.
It is healthy. So what is really important though is what we realized is when we realized that our team stopped listening to us as well too, but every other team would listen to us. We were like, oh, we want to be the voice that fills that space, that fills that void of, your voice that's not being listened to, that our voice could take that space, because we love your kids, we love this generation, we love these kids, we believe so strongly that they need to be on this journey of personal development. We call ourselves the Gen Z Whisperers, and in case you're wondering, yes, we're that dorky and we know it. And by the way, so do
We
our
own it.
yeah, The
We
kids have
told them
already
that
figured that out too.
we told them that we own our dorkiness, and then that makes them laugh, and then they start to own their own dorkiness, which is, do you know what dorkiness is? That might not be that's an English term,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
goofiness, we're
Yeah.
goofy.
Yes. Yes. We're cringy. Let's just say
Especially
that.
especially Rhonda.
I own it. I'm proud of it, you know. So anyway, we like with the kids in our workshop. I mean, they show up. They're super eager. They make us cry from the feedback that they give us. That is praise. We've learned how to accept it now, and we just really believe that our voice fills that void and makes a difference for them.
Yeah. They also make really good friends in the breakout rooms. This picture isn't it's a little bit not accurate because we're not in the breakout rooms. So the private time when they're together creates these really strong bonds of friendship. And it's when they get to practice the skills that they learn.
And it's a choice that we made not to go into the breakout rooms unless they ask us to come in so that they can really have kind of like that privacy. And we've gotten the feedback from them that we felt like they needed like that time alone to really work things out and to figure things out and talk things out. And we've gotten the feedback over and over again that that's made a huge difference for them, is to be able to have this time where they're using their hands to use the tools and kind of like connecting with each other using their hearts. So, you know, we've come to the point where all of us are pretty much worried about our kids. I hope that you believe, like we do, that kids are not getting the skills that they need to be successful in the world that they're about to take on, or that they're going to continue to take on. Well, you've got three options, right? You can worry and make yourself sick, and you can just think, oh my God, what do I do? And you can go on and on about it, and it, may basically never feel good about it because you're just so busy worrying. It takes up a whole life of its own, and it doesn't make you feel any better. You can wait. You can say, oh, maybe it'll be okay. Maybe they'll grow out of it. Maybe they'll figure it out. Or you got the best option. You can act. You can go and take action now to get them the skills they need.
So congratulations, you're acting now. You've learned some tips to help them. And we're just going to put the link now in case you need to sign off of if you wanted more information or you're just ready to sign your kids up. We'll put the link in the chat now. And
So to act now, other than you already showed up for this workshop, this webinar, that was already acting now, but to act even further, what's the investment?
yeah, and we like to say it's priceless. Considering the timing and what would happen if you don't do it, it could cost you easily $5,000 if you wait and your teen needs private one-on-one help after they leave home. Do it now and they won't need that. True story. For me, a couple of my kids needed extra help. And especially one of them, I had to, when she went off to college, I had to ask my friends for recommendations for psychiatrists, psychologists. And I was shocked to find out that everybody had names and everybody was using people. And I had no idea. People were hiring life coaches from, through high school, and that costs a lot of money. The good news is we're offering, this program where they find out about their strengths and it's basically like a coaching program. But because it's in a group, we can make it more affordable. And so we're able to offer you our program at this very reasonable price.
So like Tony said, normally, if you really wanted to get the value that we're giving you, it could cost you easily 5,000 euros. Here we are, though, offering you the same great value because we give it as a group, because we are dedicated to this, because we do it online for a one payment of 697 euros or 3 monthly payments of 267 euros. And on top of that, and which we really encourage everyone to do, a 10% discount is applied for 2 or more people. They have to sign up together, but we found that most of them like to have a friend in the session with them. And so if you get them to sign up with a friend, you both get 10% off.
So yeah, if you have any questions, you can email us at info@futureprofessionalsacademy.com, or if you just want to write down the sign up, or to get more information, that's futureprofessionalsacademy.com/sign up now. Also, I'm going to put the link in for the 30-minute call if you want to just have a call with us. Putting that in the chat now. You can click on that link to schedule a call with us, and you'll pick your time and your time zone and everything, and then we can talk to you. We would love to talk to you. We
So,
also offer, we also
no,
offer a
no, go
money
ahead.
back guarantee. Yeah. Basically the first one's free, to see if they like it. Also, yeah, the 30-minute call is free. We don't charge anything for that. That's just to, just talk to us, and we don't charge anything for that. But then this is our warranty. If your child doesn't like it, if you can get them to go to the first one, we're sure that they will. But if they don't, then we do offer a full money back guarantee. And think about the timing, because we're offering this summer in kind of an accelerated program just in July, which normally it's not like that, because they get super busy when school starts, and so the timing is really good for now. Our summer session only has 14 spots left, so you might want to sign up now or have a talk with us to discuss it right away.
So also included in this special offer is the Gallup Clifton Strength Assessment. We also give you a Supporting Your Teen's Strengths parent video certificate of completion so that they can post it on LinkedIn or Insta. We give regular parent updates, and we record the workshops for them to have, say they miss forever and ever. So they can go back and listen to it again if they want to try something out or remember a tool that they use. They have these tools for reference forever and ever.
Yeah, and then here are the dates for the summer. They're all Sundays. So July 7th, 14th, 21st, and 28th. The timing depends on where your teen is. But you still might be worried that you won't be able to get your teen to do our workshops. So here's one more participant telling you about that.
As someone who's super busy, my mom really wanted me to take this course, but I was really reluctant because my free time was basically only on the weekends. But as soon as I started the course, I was hooked. I really enjoyed the camaraderie and meeting peers that also wanted to learn about themselves and learn about their strengths and how to better themselves in the workforce and in their future. It was really, really. As someone who's super busy,
Oh, sorry.
my mom as well as super educational. I really loved learning about my strengths so that I felt confident to take on tasks that I knew I would be excelling in, and then I also knew that I could let other tasks go that maybe weren't a part of my strengths that I had learned about, so that we can work more efficiently and work smarter and not harder. So it's super helpful in that sense, and I really enjoyed it altogether.
So probably said, well, I mean, we've already discussed that maybe you can't, help them learn it. Maybe they could learn it by themselves online. Andrew, you talked earlier about, why can't they learn this stuff? Well, it's really hard to learn skills online. First of all, you have to be pretty disciplined. And soft skills are even harder because they are more developed than learned. And, just kind of like interacting with a webinar, for example, is really hard for them to do, or to take a e-learning online. It's really hard. So, because they're going to miss out on things like role playing, cooperative learning, group interactions. And so what to enable this real learning, they really need to have kind of like a group activity. They need to have it, even it can be online, but it needs to be like interactive. It needs to be live, which is why we developed this workshop to be live. It would be a lot easier for us to offer e-learnings and then just have little discussions afterwards, but that's not why we did this. We did this so that kids can really learn the essential skills they need to be successful, to start on their personal development journey. And that's why we insist on having these virtual live sessions so that they can develop these soft skills.
Yeah. So here's a lovely thing that one parent said. I'm thrilled that my daughter had the opportunity to take part in the Future Professionals program. Certainly, the fact that she felt understood and safe during the sessions with Rhonda and Tony meant that she was able to fully open up and take on board new ways of viewing her own experiences and behaviors as well as those of others.
We both cried when we got that. It was so sweet.
Yeah. And your
So,
teen will go from this to this. If they're overwhelmed in the first picture, they're going to think that they may not be the greatest person in the world, but sometimes they feel like they are.
and
And
we've
that's,
seen evidence of it because of what we've seen happen out when they take these 4 workshops. It really does set them up for the rest of their lives.
so thank you. We really appreciate your coming today. Again, the For Sure Professional Series this summer is coming up quick. Um, we asked for like a July 1st as the last date to sign up. It's $697 for 4 workshops or 3 payments of $267 each. And it's the greatest thing is if they bring a friend. We've had a lot of groups that they brought friends in, and it makes them more apt to come because they do it together. Even just one other friend, you know, they 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 feel a lot more confident when they bring somebody in. So we really promote that. Even one group, she brought in, 8 friends or 7 friends, and so they all knew each other, and they absolutely had the best time doing this together, and it was fantastic. So don't miss our summer session. And again, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank
I have a
you.
question. Can we ask questions?
Yes,
Yes.
sure.
So I understand this is for the kids, right? So they're the ones attending, going to the workshops. So the parents are not involved. Do we get any information afterwards of how they did or what happened? Any kind of feedback that obviously is
Yes.
with their permission or without causing any trouble with the kids? But do we get any information from that too?
So we do have worksheets that we create. First of all, we do have a video that we've created to explain to you about strengths so that you can understand what the kids learned about their strengths and stuff like that, so you can interact with them and build on that. We also provide worksheets before and every workshop before the kid takes the workshop for the parents so they understand again what they're going to learn in that workshop. And we also create like a little questionnaire for them. Ask your kids about this, talk to your kids about this, etc., so that you can support them. However, what happens in the workshops is confidential. We do not share with the parents, and we make that very clear to the kids as well too. What you talk about here is confidential. But just like anything, if something really dangerous comes up, of course, we've also said if something really we feel very like ethically and morally obligated to talk about it, we're going to let you know, and then we'll bring it up. Luckily, we've never had that situation, and we've only created like a beautiful sense of belonging and sharing amongst the participants.
Yeah, and their reports, the Clifton Strengths reports, they get a lot of information there, and we ask them to share it with their parents, and they do. They share it with their parents, they share it with their friends, especially when they do it together with another friend. Talking about their strengths is is fantastic. So yeah, we don't tell the parents what happens, but we ask them to share, with their parents, and they do.
Yeah, and that's the feedback. Like when we always do a wrap session, we always say, what was there before and then after? What did you do with this information and stuff like that? And it's really kind of invigorating to understand that they did share their strengths reports with their parents, and they were like, "Oh yeah, I definitely see you that. That's true about you." And then it opens it up kind of like a communication path
Stories.
where they tell them, you used to do this, and that's where I saw that strength, and that also fills their confidence bank account.
And actually, yeah, their strengths start so young. It's crazy when they tell their parents about their strengths, and their parents tell them how they saw that as babies, and they still, have that strength.
Thank you, everybody, for attending this webinar. I hope that you're able to use these 3 essential skills for your kids. Please sign up to talk with us. We'd love to continue this conversation because, we can tell that you're passionate about it, and we'd love to discuss further with you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.